Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of 10 Ton Hammer Talks. This is episode 2, and I have yet again with me Jeremy, fellow co-host, and we have a lot of cool stuff to talk about today. We don't have another guest, but that just means more thoughts and opinions from us. We are looking into getting our fellow staffers on so you guys can get to know them more and all that, so that should be coming in the next couple of weeks. But I'll pass it to Jeremy and he can talk a little bit about who we are at 10 Ton Hammer, and I'll get everything set here.
Alright, so first of all, if you didn't catch our original show last week, A, shame on you, and B, just a little background of who we are. We are two of the writers at 10 Ton Hammer. Basically, we try to focus on as broad a spectrum as possible of just the online gaming space. So that could be everything from MMOs to MOBAs to we've covered things like Destiny and just really anything that gets people excited about online gaming. We want to be there because in the end we are gamers. We are writers, but we're gamers first and foremost, and we get to write about things we love, which is really what keeps us, I think, happy day to day. And Alex can probably attest to that, but that's really what's great. So definitely, check us out, 10 Ton Hammer. We try to, stay very current in a lot of different game spaces, with news, features, exclusives, different types of things. We also recently relaunched our forums, which had been pretty popular back in the day, but had been missing for a long time. And we're really excited to get those back, and we think better than ever. So definitely check those out. You can just go to 10tonhammer.com. There's going to be something right there for you to check out the forums, interact with both us and other users. We're actually getting a pretty fair amount of activity on there already, which is awesome to see. And it's just a really cool platform for us because, we write day to day, but that's just, us writing an article, and hoping that you guys enjoy it. The forums are a great way for us to kind of interact more directly and, without having to, write a whole article. We can just kind of, share ideas and thoughts back and forth. I think that's a really cool thing for us to be able to do. So, really hope you guys check that out.
Yeah, definitely. I've been popping in there the last couple weeks as much as possible. I think just last night I popped in and talked on a few things, some topics I had started, and also just on some other stuff that was interesting to me. So already a lot of things popping up, so it's a great way to join the conversation and engage with the authors here, which is a lot of what this show is about too. So you guys definitely check that out. And we also have on the website, you'll see links for supporting us. We have a Patreon page. I'll drop the link in here in a minute, but that's probably the best direct way to support us, because anything you donate to Patreon goes directly to our site. So there's no third party involved. It just comes straight to us, and every dollar that you send is going directly towards getting the content you guys like. So definitely check that out, and check out, there's also a lot of other different ways to support us, so you can check those out. But welcome to the show. This is episode 2, and as Jeremy mentioned, the last one, if you didn't see it, go watch it, but it's not absolutely mandatory. I'm just kidding.
Well,
so, but this episode, I titled it "The Face of the Franchise" because there's really been some hot topic things that have happened over the past couple weeks to me, where I just kind of think, a lot of prominent figures in the gaming, there's a ton of prominent figures in the gaming industry, and now with the emergence of esports, there's even gamers that are kind of getting this sort of like micro celebrity status as professional gamers. And then there's also a lot of big development companies, indie studios with all the new publishing and different ways to Steam, early access, all that stuff. Even indie studios, small places that would normally never be on the map, are big, so there's all kinds of people. There's a lot more prominent people all over the place, and I think that there are some things that have happened this past week that are kind of, I don't know, bringing into question things like, should people in these positions have different standards than the average person? Should they be held accountable for different things? Basically, there's a few different topics. So I'll go ahead, I'll pass it over to Jeremy. He's got some stuff he wrote about this week, if you're following, that he can talk a little bit about in the esports realm, and then I've got something as well to follow up.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. In traditional sports, athletes are generally expected to be role models. That is something that probably didn't used to be the case a long time ago, but I think for quite a while now, it's something that's really come to be expected. Now, the esports scene is obviously very new. It's only really come to prominence within the last few years. So there's still a lot of figuring out of different things that needs to be done. But particularly within a few different game spaces, and League of Legends is probably the biggest one, or at least the most recognizable one. It's pretty, or it's made pretty obvious or pretty well known to the players that they are expected to be better than just the average Joe. And one of the big things that's come up recently is Forgiven from Gambit Gaming, who in the past has had problems with extreme toxicity, particularly in solo queue, which is when you're just playing with random players online, which professional players generally spend a lot of time doing, just as practice to keep their mechanical skills at the highest level. And it was something that had been a big problem for him before. He'd been fined for it in last year. But he had claimed to have reformed, and he learned his lesson, and there was this whole thing, about how, he's better now, and this and that, and, maybe he can really help Gambit Gaming. And now he has been suspended for 4 games, again, due to extreme toxicity. Now, there's a couple things that go into this. A, the player obviously is just predisposed to it. He's had issues with it in the past. B, in reading through what a lot of other people feel, and it's hard to argue with it, there's feelings that the Gambit Gaming organization kind of fosters this. They've talked about, Edward / Gosu Pepper, Betsy, Pinoy, etc., etc. They've had a lot of issues with this. So there's that, and obviously this directly affects Gambit Gaming as a whole, as they're trying to make the playoffs in the EU LCS, the final day of which is actually today, currently going on right now. They're trying to make the playoffs, and if they get there, they're jockeying for positioning, and then they're losing arguably their best player or one of their best players for not just this week, but then if they make the playoffs, a couple of games in there as well. Then, in North America, we have Xiao from Team Impulse, who was caught elo boosting, which is specifically forbidden by Riot Games, which is basically just the practice rather of playing on someone else's account for the sake of getting them a higher solo queue ranking. The merits of that, I suppose, could be a discussion for another day, but the point is it's not allowed. You can't do it. Everyone knows you can't do it, and Xiao was caught doing it. As a result, he has been temporarily suspended, pending the results of Riot Games' investigation, but he's pretty much admitted to doing it. And this could be a little worse, because this might not just be for a few games or for a few weeks. This is a very serious issue that could result in a much longer suspension for Xiao. And again, Team Impulse, coming into this final week of the NALCS, tied for second place with 2 other teams. This is huge, as they're looking to make sure that they're in the playoffs and looking for the best position possible. Obviously, a top 2 spot is what you want. And without their star mid laner, they could be in a lot of trouble. So, again, what is expected of these players? Riot Games has made it very clear that they expect their players to be role models for the community. They have never been unclear about that, particularly for as long as the LCS has been in its current form. They've made it very, very clear to their players that they cannot just do whatever they want. They are held to a higher standard. There's very clear rules. And what's interesting to me is that whenever something like this happens, the team's response is always, we're going to talk to our players to make sure they understand, that there's certain things you can do and can't do, and make sure this is clear. And my question is always, well, why is that first happening now?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Why hasn't that already occurred? Shouldn't they be aware of these things, especially when they're not new to the LCS? And Xiao is originally from China, but he was in the NALCS last split um, with LMQ. So this is not, his first time here, and his team certainly should, you know, be aware of what's going on and make sure that all their players are aware of all rules. And I feel like, hey, don't elo boost is probably something that's pretty easy to go over and pretty quick, and one of the first things that should have been mentioned of, things you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
so it's interesting to me.
I think that, kind of the way these teams respond to things when they have issues with their players is really reminiscent of what you see in the sports industry anywhere, where it's kind of like a team trying to, cover their own butt and basically say, hey, we don't approve of this either, even though they weren't actively doing anything to begin with to make sure their team members are not doing those things. So I think it reminds me a bit of that. But one interesting thing that I think makes this different than other sports, figures and stuff is, a lot of kids play sports and are interested in sports, but really you get, just a much narrower, a narrower viewpoint. I think, like, today especially, games are getting so accessible that, any type of game that gets to the point where, somebody could be a celebrity status, it seems like there's almost a bigger audience for those people, and a lot of the times too sometimes at just a young age, or I don't know, it's also too a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people playing, especially in the competitive arena, are just in the stage of life where they're, really in their adolescence, so they're probably the most impressionable and influenced by, people that they idolize. So I think it's a really big, important thing, but it's also difficult too because it is something that, it is just this, unlike, a sport where there's all this, physical gifts, involved in everything. Anybody that, really commits and, shows some talent in gaming and can become a professional player in this and, in sense become a celebrity. So it's really interesting because it's different than a lot of other things. So I don't know, I think that it should be emphasized maybe even more than in professional sports, that, people's standards for the professional gamers, they should be held to much higher standards. But I don't know if everybody would agree on with that one, but I really think it's, it's kind of a different realm than something we've ever seen before. I don't think there has been, kind of a environment or landscape like this before. Just had professional sports, and then of course, like TV and acting, stuff like that, but politicians, but nothing that really, the average person can just participate in and is seeing all the time, that they actually can jump up to those ranks. So I don't know, what do you think, Jeremy? Do you think that they should be stricter on these kids or less strict?
I think you have to be, and I think that's what it comes down to, is they are younger, and for that reason, some of it, maybe you feel like you understand it a little bit more, because in the end, a lot of them are teenagers, and you can't expect the maturity of a 30-year-old from a teenager. You just can't. It's not fair. But at the same time, you do have to understand they are in the public spotlight, and anybody in the public spotlight, regardless of age, is going to be held to a different standard than, as I said, your average Joe. Now, is that fair or not? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but honestly, it doesn't matter, because you can debate fair until you're blue in the face, but it is the way it is. Whether it's fair or not, this is reality. So I think it is up to the teams to make sure their players are educated and to kind of stay on top of them and make sure they are acting in a way that's going to represent the game that they're playing well, that's going to represent the organization that they're playing for well, and that they're going to represent themselves well. Because if you're famous for being toxic, that's not just not good right now. That's something that could be not good in a variety of ways in the future.
Yeah.
So I really think it is up to the teams to really make sure their players are acting the way that they need to.
Yeah, I think there's way too many people for, the game developers to police, these things. It does really fall a lot on, the team leads and the team organizers themselves. They have to be the ones who kind of roll these things, roll these kind of like, I don't know, non-official standards, on their players to make sure that their team is, providing a upstanding image for, all the young viewers that are watching them.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me 1 minute. We are going to have a surprise guest on our show. I'll be right back.
Yes. Yeah, so Jeremy has a little puppy, and it's thundering over there, so he had him in the room, but he's going to go ahead and grab him so that he's not afraid and whiny. You can hear him running in now. But yeah, so kind of the topic that we're talking about right now, talking about public figures and, all these young kids being held to a higher standard, that was kind of, I thought it was important for us to talk about that first because for anybody that's been following anything that I've been writing this week, it just kind of rolls right into the next thing, which, for those not aware yet, the CEO and president, John Smedley of Daybreak Games, formerly Sony Online Entertainment, not a small developer in the realm of MMOs. I mean, they were one of the grandfather companies, I would say, of the first MMOs with the original EverQuest, so big players still in that realm. And, I'm not sure if people are familiar with it or at all yet, but Smedley's a very outspoken personality. He tells things just how he sees them. He's very open and direct, and in the realm of social media, that's been a lot more noticeable than it has been in the past. With the explosion of for EverQuest's next development and Landmark, they moved towards Twitter as being a primary outlet for developer communication with players, and H1Z1 followed that up with a big push into Reddit. So these things have led to him having a lot more public face with fans and interactions in ways that are on more of a personal level, so you're seeing a lot more of his personality come out, which, for those who aren't aware of the situation, basically Smedley was kind of the target of hacker harassment and attacks over the past, I don't know, I want to say it's been months at least, probably started before that, but I didn't really catch wind of it before a few months ago, so but it's been going on. He's been getting personally attacked, and it's gotten to the point where he kind of is making it, his opinion felt about it and outbursting back, towards this hacker or, this group of hackers. And it's really just led to more intensive fire from the hacking group on not just him, but the whole company. DDoS attacks, putting their servers down. I believe even there was one of the employees, at least one that I saw, personal information posted publicly. Doxing is the term that's used. So like bank information and social security. It was pretty real stuff. And it was, granted it wasn't only because of Smedley, but his response really didn't help the situation, and I think, anybody in his situation might have felt the same way and possibly done the same things, but like we were just talking about, the league players and professional gamers being held to a higher standard, and they're just teenagers, a lot of them, early young adults that still have a lower maturity level. When I'm looking at a guy that's well into adulthood, a seasoned veteran in the industry, and has been doing what he does for a long time and is the head of a company, there's definitely higher standards that have to be held to. And I know that it's not fair. It's definitely not fair. But, it's one thing when there's like some toxicity in a game or, a bad role model, but when you're actually endangering potential livelihood of your employees, by company revenue getting shorted or, their personal information being out there, that's, bad stuff. So, I was really outspoken on this issue over the past couple weeks. I think I posted 3 articles about it kind of as new developments came along, and ultimately what happened is Smedley is going on a short-term hiatus, and then he's going to be, according to an official at Daybreak that I read on GamesBeat, he's going to be transitioning into a new role, and the chief operating officer, I think his name is Russell Shanks, is going to be taking over kind of the duties that Smedley was until, you know, an official plan gets created and they're ready to share that. But anyways, you know, I think it was interesting having Smedley being, you know, so direct with fans and open and honest and upfront. I mean, I've done some interviews with him. Actually, just this year I did one, and it was great to talk with him and know that when I'm talking with him, you know, yeah, he's got some amount of PR that he can't say certain things, but he's really going to tell me what he thinks. And, you know, everybody's going to have to correct because he's the leader. And, you know, he's going to get to say what he wants and what he believes about his games, and then we get to see that. But, you know, in this realm, can be a bit scarier. So, you know, as much as I liked having that personality up top, I can now see some of the dangers involved with that. So I'm actually not totally upset that he's no longer in charge there, but at the same time, you know, it is kind of unfortunate, but I kind of wonder if, you know, if it was all of his own volition, or if it was, you know, mandated by an even higher power with, I believe Columbus Nova still owns Daybreak Games as their primary investor. So, I don't know. What do you think, Jeremy? What do you think about the way that, I don't know if you've followed any of this stuff or not, but what do you think about I don't know, a lead, like the face of a franchise, basically, or the face of a company? You know, how much higher standards should they be held to?
Well, they have to be. I mean, they represent an entire company. You know, we were talking before about, you know, a player representing an organization. We're talking about you know, a huge company here. What I think is interesting and something to be looked at is that, especially for guys that have been in the industry a long time, the amount of exposure that you get through social media, both the people that are seeing you and the feedback that you're getting, the amount of people that you're hearing back from, is so much more than it used to be in the past, that I think a lot of these guys don't know how to deal with it. That it's, you know, they're used to being able to, you know, put out a statement, you know, and it would be distributed, you know, however it was. They would only, you know, hear from people if, you know, someone was angry enough, you know, to write a letter to a company or something, and even then they probably didn't see much of it. With the way social media is now, you can get instant feedback from thousands of people immediately. And if that feedback is negative, it is so much more impactful than anything I think anyone has ever experienced before this age of, you know, everyone has a strong opinion about everything, and now you can hear about it instantly. So I think for a lot of these guys that are used to it not being that way, or that they're still a little bit newer to it, it can be very overwhelming, and I think it leads to the kind of public, I don't know if I want to call it a breakdown, but we'll use that term for now, you know, just that huge debacle almost, you know, where it does get to this point where people, I mean, I don't feel like there's ever, you know, really a good time for, you know, that kind of hacking and, you know, putting people's personal information out there. You know, I don't think that's ever justified. But to get to the point where anybody gets that angry, I think that has a lot to do with it. Is that they're just not used to it, you know, and there is a lot of pressure for anyone, you know, to constantly put on, you know, that good, you know, that smile, the, you know, the good PR and all that. And then if you get flooded by, you know, hundreds or thousands of people, you know, pissed at you, how do you respond to that? And if you're not used to it, I think it can be insanely difficult. And, you know, it just requires that much more self-control, you know, something which maybe wasn't exhibited in this particular instance. But I think that it can be very difficult. But to answer your initial question, yeah, you do have to hold yourself to a higher standard. You know, just like, a CEO of a company holding a press conference, if a reporter asks a tough question, you can't, go start yelling at them and cursing at them and insulting their very existence. You have to, either answer the question or politely decline. And so it's really just a matter of, are these people that know how to interact with other human beings even when times are tough? And if you're going to be in a position of power, where you have to deal with the public, if you don't naturally know how to do that, well, you better learn. Because, things like this just really can't be happening.
Yeah, I think it's really intriguing with, you brought up how times have really changed from game development in the past, and, these people are put in a position that they've never really been in before. And I think, too, it's really interesting because I don't know if you ever saw that Robert Downey Jr. Type interview. It was either before the Avengers or before Iron Man 3, I'm not sure which one, where the interviewer totally went off, off of the path of, hey, we're talking about this movie and promoting this movie, to start digging into his darker past, and it was just totally inappropriate. So he basically just, said some harsh things and kind of just got up and walked out. And I think that people really appreciate that type of, willingness to be like, no, screw this. I'm not going to do, so I feel like it's good. It's a tough balance, if you're somebody that you want people to like you, to like your games, to like your vision, because liking you as a person goes a long way into, liking your products, I think, in today's world.
Sure.
So it's tricky, you're balancing these things of, how much saying and being the person I want can I be before, there are some fallouts or breakdowns or, things like that. So yeah, it's a tough position to be in. I definitely do not envy it. So I wouldn't want to be in Smedley's position, especially considering all the stuff that happened. So pretty bad stuff. If you guys haven't seen, you can check out the articles. That the hackers were doing some extremely messed up stuff. So definitely he is the victim here. There's no doubt about that. But just spreading the collateral damage was really the thing that kind of sparked the big the big fan kind of lash back against his choice of words and actions. So, but anyways, that was kind of one of the topics we wanted to talk about today. Is people in these positions, being held to higher standards, and it may not be fair, but that's the way it really kind of has to be. So. But we'll get on to a brighter topic today. We had some things to talk about. We didn't get to last episode. We were kind of introducing what the show's all about, but we talked a little bit about games we're looking forward to, games we've liked in the past, games we're currently playing. So we put in a segment today for Patch Note Potential with the recent stuff coming out this week or in the very near future, the next couple weeks. What's hitting the games we're playing now or the games we're looking at? What are we excited about? So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jeremy first and ask him, what patch notes, maybe League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, what games are you playing? What are you seeing that's coming in this week as a new addition that you're really excited about?
Not this week, but within maybe a couple weeks, we're looking for the Grand Tournament. This is Hearthstone's new expansion. It's actually looking to be really, really solid. Blizzard did an awesome job. They put together an entire event to announce it, which is, I think, A, bit unusual, but B, pretty great to see that they kind of went all out to really announce. There's a lot of good stuff in there, some new mechanics coming in, really looking to not just, add some new cards to, add into existing decks, but really looking to reshape, I think, the competitive landscape a little bit. And I think it's going to be awesome. We've seen probably, maybe 15, somewhere around there, new cards, but they're saying it's going to be over 130 new cards in the expansions. It's going to be a lot bigger than the Goblin vs. Gnomes one was. So that's going to be really awesome. Really looking forward to that. Other than that, Heroes of the Storm just introduced King Leoric, which I'm really interested to see if he really gets picked up in the higher levels of play. He has a really interesting mechanic where death isn't really death. So it's really going to be cool to see. I mean, players are already, some are kind of figuring out how to play around it, some are having a lot of trouble, some are just playing Leoric and just dying 100 times because they think they're supposed to. So it's really creating something very cool there. I guess I'll stay with my Blizzard hype train here. Diablo 3. I don't know exactly when the 2.3 patch is going to hit, but that I'm looking forward to in just a huge way. It's going to introduce a bunch of new sets. It's going to make a whole slew of new builds possible, and really refining the Rift and Greater Rift experience to make it not so super lame to try to get keys and get to different levels and all that. So that's going to be really awesome. And I guess I'll finish off with my personal biggest game, which is League of Legends. And they got the new HUD in, which apparently everybody hates. So that's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I don't know how much of it is actually the HUD and how much of it is people just hate change. Because someone actually made a really, they brought us something really interesting on Reddit where they linked back to, I don't remember what year it was now off the top of my head. I think maybe it's 2009. I don't remember. When the initial HUD was changed to the one that we've had for years now, and it was a small sample size, so maybe like 150 people that commented, but they were almost all saying that they hated it and they wanted the old one back or whatever. And obviously, you know, that one ended up being good and people liked it. So we'll see if over time people get used to it. But yeah, so that's pretty fun. So those are really the biggest things I think in the games that I'm playing right now. What are you looking at?
Oh, you mentioned League of Legends. It brings to mind, I think just yesterday I was reading the update coming for Fiora.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool because I've always been intrigued by her, but she just never really had the type of kit I liked. So, but now that she's got some movement utility and kind of has some strategic play to her, she kind of really intrigues me. So I'm pretty interested to see when she comes out of the public test beta. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then for me, I was kind of sticking a lot of my stuff. I stick more into the MMO realm, but I also have like tunnel vision on certain games right now. So H1Z1 has made. I haven't played it in a couple weeks, but it's made quite a few changes over the past few weeks with environmental changes, kind of creating that whole feel of the game. Really infusing it with their fog and weather and stuff like that has gone in. And then I'm really actually most excited. It was planned to be this week. I think they pushed it back another week. They're going to be putting in professions, which was like a hot topic on Reddit. People were contributing ideas and concepts for different, basically things you could pick. Since you're coming into the world as a survivor who's obviously had a past life, before the apocalypse or whatever it is, were you a mechanic? Were you a soldier? Were you a carpenter? Like all these different things. So I think that's really cool because it gives you a way to start defining a role rather than just being somebody who's running around trying to kill zombies and kill other players if you're on PvP. Anyway, so I think that's interesting and makes it feel much more MMO-y, I guess is the way to say it. But it's a divisive topic too. A lot of people don't want it. They just like the simpleness of the game right now of just going in and surviving and shooting zombies and stuff. But a lot of people that are big fans of MMOs are really a fan of it. And I think too it kind of goes in line with Daybreak's history as Sony Online Entertainment of in-depth RPGs with a lot of depth and complexity. So I think definitely to continue carrying their fan base forward, it's for sure the right move. So I'm really excited about it. It's going to make the game feel like it has more value to me because I'm a narrative person. I love when you can put some sort of character, you can kind of create and feel out a character in it rather than just playing like a hack and slash or FPS game where, you're not a character, you're just going in and playing the game, which is fun too, but not my personal favorite. So that's something I'm looking at. And lastly, Revival has mentioned it over the past couple months, and now they're actually mentioning it in all of their weekly Friday blogs, is like the time until they release their first stage 1 of their client is like extremely imminent, like definitely within weeks now, maybe next week, 2 weeks from now. So that's going to be cool for all the early adopters. You'll get to go in and explore in real time your houses and stuff, and I believe they're trying to get the multiplayer component of it to where you can actually go into each other's houses and stuff. So I mean, there's not a lot of game behind it, but I'm excited to see the way they bring like medieval Gothic architecture to life in the game and creating an environment for role playing, which is a big thing to me. So cool thing that I'm looking forward to. May not be on everybody's radar, but those are kind of the things I'm watching. Other than that, DCUO has some cool stuff. I'm going to get back into that with a friend. I haven't played in forever, so going to check that out. They've added in the addition to the Lantern stuff with the Black Lantern, so that's a storyline I've always loved in DC, which traditionally don't like DC, as I think we talked about in last week's episode when we debated Marvel DC, but I do like the Lantern storyline, so I'm going to get in and play for some of that. So, cool stuff, definitely. And next, I believe next we have something, I don't know if anybody has been following I don't know, everybody probably follows movies to some extent, but the movie Pixels, I don't know if you've seen trailers before or not. I think I have one ready here I can show you guys and we'll talk about it, but just as a kind of a quick beginning snapshot, it's basically a movie, you know, I believe Adam Sandler's in it, a couple other bigger actors, that it's going to be a movie that involves some video game nostalgia and references and as main theme. So I'll play that for you really quick here. Let me see if I can't get that set up. I totally don't have yeah, I did not get that ready yet. So alright, we don't have that. So if you haven't seen the trailer, you can check it out. But basically, you know, it's got the whole plot kind of is people send out like a time capsule that has various, you know, elements of, you know, history and technology and stuff from the world, and aliens or something.
Into space.
Into space. Aliens or something find it, and all of a sudden you have like video game characters demolishing the world and pixelizing things. It's kind of interesting, but I'm kind of wondering, you know, as we're talking face of the franchise and, you know, things that are, you know, public and prominent, as far as gamers go, you know, it'll be probably fun for us to watch and see, but, you know, to the greater public who's probably going to watch it and may not have a lot of experience with games, like, is it going to be good or bad for gaming in general? So I'll just pass it to you first, Jeremy. Like, what do you think, just off of, you know, seeing the trailer alone? Do you think that it's going to be present kind of a good image, maybe attract people to gaming, or just be silly and unimpactful?
Well, I'll actually, I guess I'll, just for the sake of conversation, I'll let you tackle from the gamer perspective. From the non-gamer perspective, I see it doing nothing, really. They're intentionally using, you know, very old games, the ones I mentioned in the trailer, Pac-Man, Centipede, and Donkey Kong, specifically so that it's not only appealing to one generation, you know, so that, you know, because everyone's at least heard of those games. Everyone knows what Pac-Man is. Everyone's, you know, heard or seen of Donkey Kong. Like, everyone knows that. So they're trying to make it more appealing in that way. I feel like this is the kind of movie that, as a gamer, I'd like it to be good. I just don't expect it to be good. It seems like one of those, you know, Hollywood, oh, hey, nostalgia, look, it's a movie now, kind of things. The cast has some actors that I used to like, that I feel have more or less become parodies of themselves at this point, that, you know, are generally not associated with really well thought out, thought-provoking scripts. I mean, you never know. Could be surprising. I mean, there could be some good stuff in the movie. You know, the trailer might just be showing, you know, the big, you know, bigger like action sequences or, you know, funny parts or whatever, and maybe there is more to the movie than that. But it's hard to feel like there is. It seems like it's very shallow. Like it really is going to do nothing. If it did anything, because I feel like it'll have actually very little impact on public perception of gaming. If it were to do anything, I feel like it would be negative, just because it's going back to the old days of gaming, which kind of would reinforce, you know, the old school train of thought that, you know, gamers are just nerds living in their parents' basements who have nothing better to do with their lives, you know, and are just failures in life and all that. You know, because that was always the perception, and it's kind of, you know, what we're fighting against now. You know, in mainstream culture is, you know, making people understand that it's not that, you know, that there's a lot more to gaming than just, you know, people with bad hygiene and no lives. And I feel like, you know, this is probably not going to do a whole lot to help shatter that perception.
Definitely. Well, while Jeremy was talking, actually, I was able to multitask, and I can run the trailer really quick right now before I talk and give my opinion on it. So I'm going to attempt to do that right now. So let me try that. I just got to move this little Skype window aside, and there we go. So
in 1982,
all right.
NASA launched a time capsule into space containing examples of our life and culture in hopes of contacting extraterrestrial life. Unfortunately, the message was taken the wrong way.
I believe that some alien life force sent down real-life video games to attack us.
That makes sense.
We've never faced a threat like this before. We need video game expertise. These guys were champions back in '82.
Sam Brenner, Pac-Man World Champion.
What's up?
Ludlow Lamensov, Master of Centipede.
Also known as
Your worst nightmare!
Eddie Plant, King of Donkey Kong.
Please find the pattern and anticipate!
I don't know the pattern!
Shoot for the head! You're welcome.
You got blood on your face.
The only way to take down Pac-Man is with ghosts.
You want ghosts? These are your ghosts.
Let's hit it!
Don't tell anybody I killed the Smurf.
Incoming! Get out! He's going to eat you!
We got this. If we don't, the world ends. We have to take the battle to them. Donkey Kong.
One game you suck at.
May I introduce to you the creator of Pac-Man?
Professor Iwatani, what are you doing?
I will talk to him. He's my son. Hello, my sweet little boy. Look how big you've grown.
It's so sweet. He's so sweet.
You're a good boy.
Somebody kill this suicide!
All right. So let me get that out of full screen. All right, we are back. So yeah, it's it looks kind of silly to me, obviously, but at the same time, it kind of gives me that Starship Troopers-ish feel, but instead of being, you know, just alien bugs, it's, you know, actually stuff that people have some nostalgia with. So I think it'll be interesting and fun. I think it'll be entertaining, funny. I just don't know if it's gonna what kind of opinion it'll give people of gaming, or, you know, it's kind of interesting because, like, the game characters coming to destroy the world, so you never know what, like, political message is behind it. So I'm not sure, you know, as gamers who are fans of, you know, the way that gaming has evolved in the past, you know, over the past several years, so much progress has been made. Gaming is so accessible now. I know there are still a lot of opinions out there about, you know, violent games, or, you know, games that don't have enough diversity, a lot of things like this. So, and there are definitely parties out there who think all gaming is bad. So, hopefully, you know, it'll in the end present an overall good image. You know, I know not everybody might agree with, you know, subliminal messaging or anything like that, but it definitely, I think, you know, people subconsciously kind of see things and, you know, feel things and feel about things. So hopefully it represents a good image of gaming. You know, just in seeing the trailer alone, I think I can't tell, you know, what the end plot is or what the end goal is going to be in it. So I don't know what to think about it. It's actually kind of a intriguing topic to me. So I'm really curious to go check it out and see what it. I think it actually hits theaters today, which is why I kind of put it in. It was very relevant to stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if the people who wrote the script, who are doing the plot, are gamers themselves and and want to keep promoting gaming as being something that's acceptable, popular, thing that's anybody can do and have fun and be beneficial to their lives. I think gaming's a really healthy social experience for a lot of people, and it's a great way to vent energy too. I mean, there's a lot of people that have that position stance on violent games, so really interesting stuff. So I don't know, I kind of wanted, this was one of more of those things too, that one awesome thing about the Twitch format is having chat, having people participating in the show and having an opinion on what you guys think about something. So definitely chime in and chat, or even take it to the forums, pop into the Tenton Hammer forums. I might start a topic there and you guys can chime in and talk about it there. But I think it's intriguing to me. I'm always one of those people that kind of examines the inner mechanics behind things, just a lot of my background in that. So I always wonder what's ticking behind the front face. So but yeah, that's kind of largely the Pixels thing. Go check it out today if you guys want to watch it. It doesn't benefit us at all, but yeah, go check it out.
Let us know if it's any good.
Yeah, exactly. Let me know if it's worth watching. So, but yeah,
I think my main concern with it is that they're just gonna, in the end, the gamers will end up saving the world, and my concern is that, or at least I'm assuming that's the case, and my concern is that that's gonna be their justification why everything's okay. Hey, no, gamers aren't bad. Look, they saved the Earth, and I'm afraid that that's all they're going to do to do it, and I feel like that's not anywhere near enough. And that's my fear. Is that's going to be their way of justifying it.
Yeah, yeah. That I hopefully it's better than that, but at least I guess at least it would have that, and it might be interesting to see the creative ways they take these, old school games and start putting a modern twist on things, like they did with the little Mini Coopers and the ghosts for the Ghosts of Pac-Man and stuff like that. That's always interesting for me to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, interesting is a word for that.
Yeah, so intriguing little things there. But yeah, so what else is big on your radar this week, Jeremy? Other than patch notes or something like that, is there anything you saw this week? Maybe something that happened that you just have to talk about?
Well, big thing today, and actually, because we're doing this, I don't know exactly where they are right now, but actually in the European LCS for League of Legends, Fnatic is playing their final game of the split today. They're currently 17-0. So if they can beat Unicorns of Love today, they'll be the first team to ever have an undefeated LCS split. So I'm actually very, very interested to watch that game. Fnatic has looked far and away to be the best team in Europe. The only thing, and this is always a debate in traditional sports too, the only thing about this undefeated split, if they get it, is that it's an 18-game split. Before this year, the splits were 28 games. And Cloud9 had previously held the record for best split at 25-3. So I think that'll be actually an interesting debate about which team was better, the 25-3 Cloud9, or if Fnatic can do it, the 18-0 Fnatic. So I think that's actually going to be really cool. It's a huge storyline that I'm going to be keeping an eye on for sure. I mean, anytime any team in a major league has a potential for an undefeated season, I think it's always really fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really difficult accomplishment in any game. I think all MOBAs to some extent are just so well balanced that it's really difficult to have a run like that. It's not easy. Kind of is really reminiscent to me of NFL with their type of competition committee and the balancing they do. It really makes almost any game really competitive. You always have upsets and stuff. So seeing teams have a perfect season or like a perfect run in a tournament setting, that's really cool. It's really I don't know, as somebody who plays the game a lot too, like I think it'd be so, the pressure of after you're winning a lot, and then now all of a sudden you're like, oh, if we can just do this, it's like added pressure on top of the pressure of the game you're already playing. So it's really, really interesting to me. I'd be excited to see if they could pull that off as well, because that's a
what's
lot
fun
of
is they're going to be going against Unicorns of Love, which they should beat them, but UOL is the one team more than any other that's likely to just pull out some crazy stuff that you would never expect, and I actually think they might. I mean, they're still fighting for their own playoff positioning because they're only 9-8 right now, so they're fighting for their own playoff spot. But I wouldn't be surprised if they really wanted to test Fnatic by just pulling out some stuff that they were not expecting and really, make them earn that last win, and try to cheese them a little bit. So I think it should be a really fun game to watch.
Definitely.
And I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be playing some League this weekend just because seeing the Fiora thing, all the tournament stuff is getting me pretty excited to jump in and play some League. I haven't played it in feels like weeks now, just so busy all the time. But yeah, it's gonna be a cool tournament to watch. That's going on all day today, right?
Yeah, it's actually it's been going on, so we should be approaching towards the end. Actually, again, I don't have it pulled up right now, as we're doing this, but it's been going on today, so it should be coming up fairly soon, that Fnatic game.
Definitely. Cool. Well, I think that's pretty much the majority of all the topics that we had for today. So we're going to go up here. For 10 Ton Hammer content this coming week, for me, I'll be finally finishing up my Perfect MMO series next week. I've actually got one that will be going up tomorrow morning as well, doing a little weekend content. So that one's going to be going up tomorrow, and I'm going to be really keeping a close eye on the Daybreak stuff and seeing how that unfolds. I think that's really, aside from just being a topic we talked about today with Face of the Franchise, it's going to be really impactful in the gaming world, especially the MMO realm, because Daybreak is one of the leading MMO developers out there. They have, I believe, like 6 or 7 titles, all MMOs, that are active right now. So, and they have, in development some games. So I'm going to watch for that because, Smedley being in charge, him being in charge, it's a lot of his vision goes into all the games and the way they're continuing to produce and evolve these games. So seeing a change like that, it'll be interesting to see if if any other fallout happens with, major changes coming, the future of EverQuest Next, and the future development of Landmark. And I believe Smedley, too, is heavily involved in H1Z1, so I would expect him to take on some role specific within that game, or maybe still a senior role, but over several games in Daybreak. I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes and how it affects the games that are coming out. So definitely look for me to be following those topics and writing about what's happening there and what I'm seeing. So definitely enjoy that content. And Jeremy, what content do you have planned for the next week? Are you thinking of for?
Well, I'm actually probably going to delve a little bit into that whole Fnatic versus C9 and their prime thing. Other than that, one of the fun parts about esports is that everything I do is constantly changing. So we're going to be doing more Heroes of the Storm content for sure. We have guides out for most of the heroes out there, which you definitely should check out. A lot of time and effort's gone into those. Re-looking, continue on those. Other than that, it's really pretty flexible based on what happens, which is part of the fun of my job, is that, I can plan out some of it, but then, even when I plan, sometimes it completely changes at the last moment, if something crazy comes up. So that's going to be
We had a question in chat, basically for you. Do you know when Fnatic last lost?
Yeah, their last loss, if we're talking about EU LCS, was in the finals against Unicorns of Love from the spring split. So if that was what you're looking for, that was last time, and that UOL actually pushed them to a full 5 games and a best-of-5 series in the finals, which A, nobody expected UOL to even be there in the finals, including Unicorns themselves, and B, nobody expected it to be that close because Fnatic still looked like the best team in Europe last split as well. So so in the EU LCS, that was the last single game loss that they had, was in the finals against UOL.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Voxel Vision. And also too, I'm glad, Jeremy, you brought up guides, because something people may not know that maybe have been following 10 Ton Hammer for a long time is that we've really been revamping our guides, the format that we've been doing on the site. So they should be like much more streamlined. There's a lot of visual elements. If you haven't been a fan of our guides in the past, or maybe you have and haven't checked them out in a while, go look at them. They are by far night and day compared to past guides that we've had. So pretty top-notch, good stuff. And obviously, I'm doing a show with one of the fellow authors that is expressing his opinion on those things, and we've got some very talented experts in the realm, so they have really good opinions, on this stuff. So it's definitely worth at least examining and putting into your kit, or putting into your bag of thought for how you want to build stuff out in these various games. So, but everybody, thanks for watching this episode 2. Future episodes are always going to be on Friday. We air at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, I believe. So come by, check us out live. As you can see, Voxel Vision asked a question. If you guys come in, the more audience we have, we're gonna start planning actual audience Q&A sessions too, where you guys can ask us anything and we'll answer it to the best of our ability. We're planning to have guests on eventually too. I'm going to actually be reaching out to some people for some guest episodes in the next couple weeks. We might have some 10 Ton Hammer fellow staffers on before that happens, but look forward to seeing some cool guests in the next couple weeks and checking out what we're doing on the site and for next week's show. So Jeremy, did you have any other thing? Maybe I missed anything that you could think of?
Not really. The only thing is, if you do miss us live, or if someone might be interested in some of the stuff we're talking about, we will be putting up every episode of the show onto our 10 Ton Hammer YouTube, and actually we'll be going on to 10tonhammer.com main site as well. So if you ever do miss an episode or want a friend to check us out, don't worry if you miss a live stream. You can always go back and check out the previous episodes if you miss anything.
Definitely, yep. Be sure to do that. And we also will be posting up articles that kind of I'll be summarizing. I think last week I did one. You can see it up on 10 Ton Hammer. Kind of a overview of what the show was about. If you missed it and maybe you don't have an hour to watch, there will be those summaries also you can check out. So those will always be there. So, but thanks again, everybody, for coming. We appreciate your viewership and for engaging with us today. We will see you next week with new topics and a new show. See you later.
Take care, guys.